Well, folks, when it comes to Donald Trump and the way he goes about talking about Epstein, there's one of two things happening here. Either A, he doesn't have anyone advising him on how to talk about this subject at all, or B, he does have someone that tries to give him advice, but he clearly isn't listening. Because when he starts talking about Epstein, he buries himself so badly. And I know he's surrounded by these loyalists. I understand that he is surrounded by his biggest fans. But even his biggest fans have to cringe at times when they hear some of his answers. Like this first one we're going to talk about. He says he's never had the privilege of going to Epstein Island. Yeah, he said that out loud. Take a look.
And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Yeah.
Yeah, he never had the privilege to go to an island where children were being trafficked. Think about that. Think about how that truly sounds. Folks, I've been a musician for over 25 years, and during that time, I have got to play in some really cool places, and I have got to open up for some of my heroes. I got to play at the Bijou Theater in Knoxville, which was a huge deal to me. But there were a lot of venues that I really liked that I never had the privilege to play. You know, I really love the 40 Watt down in Athens, Georgia. I never had the privilege of playing at the 40 Watt. If someone asked me, what about the Burl in Lexington, Kentucky? I would say that's one of my favorite venues, but I've never had the privilege of playing at the Burl. But if someone said, hey, Brando, have you ever had a chance to go to the Satanic Pedophile Island? I wouldn't say, no, you know what? I just haven't had the privilege to do that. That's not the wording that I would use in no world, but that's the wording he uses. And when he's asked about why he broke it off with Epstein, now his followers have always said that he broke it off with Epstein because he saw what a pervert Epstein was. But when Trump's asked why he broke it off with him, that's not the answer he gives. Take a look.
What caused the breach again?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
So yeah, he didn't break it off with him because he was a pervert or because he was trafficking children. He didn't say that. He said he broke it off with him because he wronged him, because he took his workers and hired people he told him not to hire. And he doesn't specify what those workers done, but we do know that Trump did own teen pageants, and we do know there was a lot of towel girls at Mar-a-Lago that worked for Epstein there. So this whole time that we've been looking at that island and looking at that satanic pizza parlor, I think Mar-a-Lago definitely is a place that needs to be looked at too. But he doesn't say that. It had nothing to do with Epstein and the things he did. It had everything to do with that he wronged Trump, because it's always about him. And I want y'all to think about this. For the ones that said, oh, he saw through Epstein, he saw what kind of guy he was, then why didn't he right then throw him under the bus? Why didn't he throw him under the bus from the minute he figured it out, if that was his excuse? I don't think it was. But to the ones that tries to make that argument that, well, he saw through him and saw what he was all about and he had to get away from him, he could have saved us all this mess, and he could have been the biggest hero in the story. And if there's Democrats on that list, like everyone says, and if Bill Clinton went 28 times and was guilty of all kinds of shit, Trump could have brought it out years ago. He could have exposed it before he ever became the president. But he didn't. He swept it under the rug. And then Epstein died on his watch. And then it became this big talking point in MAGA circles. It became one of the biggest talking points they have. And they demanded for years for all this to be released. They wanted to see it, and Trump was going to be the guy. And Joe Rogan said, yeah, I really thought Trump was going to be the one that would get in there and change this. And I'm like, buddy, I don't know what Donald Trump you've been watching this entire time, but if you was watching the same one we've been watching the one that only cares about himself and does not give a damn about children. He does not give a damn about women. He doesn't give a damn about immigrants. He does not give a damn about anyone but himself. And I guarantee you that guy would throw his own children under the bus before he would let himself go down. If I was Don Jr. or Eric, I would not feel safe, and I bet deep down, if the truth was told, they don't. They know what kind of man their dad is. They know what kind of person he really is. And, sadly, Ivanka Trump truly does know. I always think about his daughters, and I think about all the things he's said about them over the years, how he'd like to date them if they weren't his daughters, and talks about their assets, and talks about how that the one thing he has in common with them is sex. I just wonder how that truly makes them feel. And I wonder how they feel knowing that he's out here covering this up. And the truth is, though, folks, if one of his own kids came out and said, hey, wait, I know the truth, and I'm going to tell you, how many people in MAGA would buy it? And would Donald Trump throw them under the bus? I absolutely believe he would. The old wrestler Arn Anderson was one of my favorites. He used to say, I'd slap my granny in the mouth for 50 cents. I think Trump would do way worse. And I think he would go out of his way to cover it. That's why he gets so upset and annoyed when he's asked about Epstein. But he could have been the hero all along. When you really stop and think about it, to the ones that wants to make the excuse that, well, he knew what kind of guy Epstein was, then he could have played the hero years ago. He chose not to. And to anyone out there that's questioning this, his supporters, he calls you his so-called supporters. He said he didn't need you anymore. He said you were doing the Democrats' work. But if Ghislaine Maxwell ends up getting a pardon out of this deal and ends up walking away free, a sex trafficker back out on the streets, you want to talk about you're the party of law and order, you're the party of back in the blue, but yet you're going to sit back and watch that woman walk out of prison, his biggest co-conspirator, the one that hurt so many people, the one that has purged herself before. I mean, there's just so much to unpack in all this stuff, but you're going to sit back, you're going to let her walk away, and meanwhile he's telling you that you're stupid for believing it, it's a hoax, and you're buying into you're doing the Democrats' work. Well, if you truly do believe the Democrats are on it, and you truly do believe that the Democrats are all guilty, and Ghislaine Maxwell walks free and he tells you to shut up about it, then who's really doing the Democrats' work?